Imagine a night without a stage, without the spotlight, without thousands of dancing light sticks, yet it became one of the most touching nights in Jikook history. Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moment, a place where love doesn't need to be declared with words, but simply through glances, embraces, and meaningful silence. In this episode, we invite you to dive into a live broadcast that might seem simple at first glance. But behind that simplicity lies a hug that melts hearts, a touch that speaks louder than the word love, and small moments only created by two people who know each other more deeply than anyone else ever could. Because that night, Jimin and Jungkook didn't just sit side by side. They returned to each other. And for all of us who've been waiting, this was a gift more precious than anything. Jikook, in silence, at their most honest. That night wasn't glamorous. There was no grand stage, no blinding spotlights, no ocean of light sticks dancing in the dark, no music booming or cheers from thousands of fans, no majestic choreography or flashy costumes. Just two men, Jimin and Jungkook, sitting next to each other, sharing the screen in a live broadcast that looked simple, yet held such profound meaning. And in that very simplicity, a moment was born, one that could never be forgotten. A moment that didn't need a script or dramatic lines to touch the hearts of anyone watching. To some, the video may seem ordinary, Jungkook hugging Jimin. But not to those who've followed these two souls for more than a decade. Not to those who understand body language better than words. Jungkook's arms wrapped around Jimin's shoulders and head, tight but gentle, as if he wanted to protect the little world only the two of them share. And Jimin leaned in, surrendering himself into that embrace, as if silently saying, "I trust you. I always have." There was no script, no grand declaration. But the world knew this wasn't just a hug. It was an unspoken confession of longing, warmth, and a love that has grown behind the scenes, in silence, through a journey that has never been easy. That hug wasn't rushed. It happened in silence, in a stillness that somehow shook the soul. No fake smiles. No jokes to cover feelings. Just raw honesty radiating from two bodies that finally rested in one another again. A raw reality that even stars need a place to come home to. And that night they came home. To each other. In a world that demands them to always be strong, perfect, and smiling even when tired, Jimin and Jungkook showed their most vulnerable side. A side not often visible behind the cameras and grand stages. They weren't being idols. They were being human. Two human beings finding their safe space in one another's arms. And as if fate never makes mistakes, the moment didn't stop there. "I slept at Jimin Hyung's house." That sentence slipped from Jungkook's lips so effortlessly, without pretension. As if it were no big deal. But for armies who followed their dynamic for years, those words were like a quiet earthquake. Because in the world of Jikook, nothing is ever truly casual. Every word, every gesture holds layers of meaning understood only by the most sensitive hearts. Then we see Jimin, with his signature gentleness, raise his hand and touch Jungkook's head. It wasn't just a caress. It was protection. A silent statement. "You're not alone. I'm here." And then, Jungkook rested his head on Jimin's body. No hesitation. No fear. Just leaned in, like a child returning to the safest place in the world. And from the way they looked at each other, the way they smiled, we knew. This wasn't coincidence. This was home. Their body language spoke louder than words. Jimin gently touching Jungkook's head with love. Jungkook hugging Jimin as if guarding something precious. They leaned on each other without speaking. They gazed at one another, seemingly forgetting the world outside. They didn't label anything. They didn't build a narrative. But their bodies told the truth. And we, all who watched, felt it. That what we witnessed that night wasn't performance. It was love, choosing to live in silence. Then came that moment. A single, powerful handshake. Amid laughter and playful chatter, the camera captured something that seemed simple. Jimin and Jungkook holding hands. For a long time. No words. No need for explanations. And in that simplicity lay the strength of the moment. It wasn't just a handshake. It was a rebinding of everything they'd been through together. A silent vow born from a long journey, From tiny practice rooms, tearful nights, victorious stages, to 2 years separated by military service. That handshake said, "I'm still here. I'm still with you. No matter the time or distance, you're still the one I hold on to." We know a handhold like that can't be faked. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a piece of them. A small symbol of a bond much deeper than anything they've ever spoken aloud. Imagine all their memories. When Jimin protected a nervous Jungkook at debut. When Jungkook secretly stared at Jimin with sparkling eyes during performances. When they fetched water for each other, comforted one another, even when the world around them shook. And that night, all those memories came full circle. But this time we saw it live. No filters. No censorship. Jikook speaks through the smallest, most honest things. The way they laugh together. The way they touch without hesitation. The way they don't rush to let go. The way they share silence that somehow speaks the loudest. In that handhold they seem to say, "You are my home. I won't let go. And even if the world changes, you're still where I return." 2 years passed. Much has changed. The world has changed. The industry has changed. But one thing remains, their bond. Jungkook still chooses to go to Jimin's house. Still chooses to sleep there. Still chooses to sit beside him, hug him, hold his hand, and say everything without saying a word. And Jimin? He still looks at Jungkook the same way he always has. With protection. With love that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. Because in the end, home isn't a place. Home is a person. That night's live broadcast wasn't just content for entertainment. It was a story of honesty. A story of two people who keep choosing, protecting, and never really drifting apart. It was a homecoming. Not just for them, but for all of us who have waited and hoped. Every gesture they made that night said, "We haven't changed. We're still together. And we know you're still with us." In a noisy world, they reminded us that love doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't have to be grand. Love can live in a warm hug, in a hand that won't let go, in silence that says everything. They may never say, "I love you," out loud. That hug, that look, that handhold, that soft smile, it was more than enough. And that night, in front of the camera, in front of the world, one thing became crystal clear. Jikook didn't just return. They're still protecting the hearts they entrusted to each other long ago. And after all the laughter, hugs, handholds, and wordless signals, there's only one conclusion. True love doesn't need loud confessions. It lives in a hug that won't let go, a head that rests without fear, in a home that isn't a place, but a person. That night, Jikook gave us more than just content. They gave us a truth that despite distance, time, and change, they're still here, still choosing each other. And they know we are still with them. Thank you for watching and feeling this moment with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss a single heartbeat from the ongoing Jikook story, told in silence. Because sometimes, the purest love is the one we understand through silence. See you in the next video, only on Jikook Moment.